What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 3 and Out YouTube page. I'm John Middlekauff, and we are talking football all day, every day. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends. Let's roll, baby. Okay, we have some breaking news. CeeDee Lamb holdout officially over. He gets one of the biggest contracts in NFL history for a non-quarterback, and really quarterbacks. I mean, he got a lot of money, $100 million guaranteed. And I think this was a situation. The news today is just the money, because this is not like Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers, the Cowboy. He was never going to not be a Cowboy. It was inevitable. He was playing for the Dallas Cowboys this year, next year, many years moving forward. It was just how much was it going to cost Jerry? In my theory, and I thought about it today after I saw the contract was signed, that if you look back, Jefferson, who signed his contract before training camp, like the Cowboys knew the numbers, give or take, right? Within $2-3 million of per year guarantees, obviously signing bonuses. Like they have a very, very good idea of the numbers that CeeDee Lamb is going to cost them and the years that it's going to cost them, right? These guys are signing 4-year deals. These guys are 25 years old. I mean, if they can stay healthy, and historically a lot of wide receivers play for a long time, these guys could make a lot of money. Kind of like the quarterbacks, when you look at, God, how did Eli or Flacco or some of these guys, or Phillip Rivers, make so much money? Well, they're signing like 4 contracts. And now some of these wide receivers, I mean, when this deal ends, these guys are going to be 29 years old, 30 years old. You can have a lot of success at 31, 32, 33 at this position, especially because of the rules. But Jerry knew how much it was going to cost him. And my theory is, like, listen, these guys were not going to play in the preseason. That wasn't going to happen. Trey Lance was a sacrificial lamb for the Cowboys in the preseason. CeeDee Lamb was not rolling out there. So if you know, like, this is kind of the date because you want to have the contract signed the day before you set your roster, you let the money ride in the bank. The stock market's been ripping. If you're talking $100 million, if you're making 10%, who knows? Jerry, he's a wheeler and dealer. Maybe he's got aggressive accounts. Maybe he's making more than that. Hell, you would just make 5% off a money market. So if you had $100 million just sitting there, it's making $5 million. And I know Jerry, that's too boring for old the Cowboys owner. So I wonder if they just let this thing in the market, let it rip when they knew that they were going to sign the contract today, or offer what they knew would get him to sign the contract. That's my theory. Because, like, it's not like these numbers changed a month ago or 3 weeks ago. But Jerry's like, what's he really going to do? If you feel good about it, he's in shape. You know, you get him right now, and you get 2 weeks lead in time before the Browns game. And you make, $10-15 million on your money that you use to pay him in the signing bonus. Basic economics. But I think when you look at the Cowboys, you see a team now that has some core players. And the question mark is the quarterback. Because they have a star wide receiver. They have a star rusher. They have some really high-end DBs. I know Bland just got injured. They have some really good young offensive linemen. But this Dak Prescott question mark is not going away. And I've said over and over, like, we've seen Flacco do it. We've seen Eli do it. I'm not acting like Dak can't go on a run and get hot at the right time. He's never done it. And honestly, some of his losses, or the Cowboys' losses, have been on his shoulders. But he's definitely capable of it. So you let it ride this year. Well, it cost them money. Well, if this year doesn't go well and we got to move on, which would be tough because it is very, very difficult to replace a guy that can lead you to 12 wins a season. They've won the division 2 out of the last 3 years. They've hosted playoff games. Hasn't gone well. They've lost them both, right? To the Niners and then last year to the Packers. And then the irony is, I guess, they played at home 2 years ago and then went on the road they played on the road and then they went on the road and lost to the 49ers in the second round in 2022. But I think Dak's a big question mark right now. And rightfully so, him and the coach. It's put up or shut up time. And the weird part, like, they could beat the Browns and millions of people are going to watch that game. Why? Because Tom Brady's calling it, right? And now there's a lot of buzz. CD's going, Micah. It's like, okay, Deshaun sucks. Let's say they win that game. Let's say they dominate that game. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. They're in this weird mode of this squad that hasn't accomplished anything in the playoffs in 25 years. That their only thing they're judged on in the playoffs. They're almost like an NBA player. Like no one cared for 8 years how many points James Harden scored against the Orlando Magic in February. That's where like Joel Embiid is now. Like no one gives a shit what you do in January against the Sacramento Kings. Not a soul, right? You're just strictly going to be judged on the playoffs. And that's the Cowboys because specifically because of the contract situation of their coach and their quarterback. Like, let's say they win the division, but they don't get the number one seed and they win 2 playoff games for the first time in 25 years. Those guys are getting contract extensions and you feel good about it. But I think if you get a part due of last year, right? You're in the first round of the playoffs and you lose, like there's probably a lot of change. Now the wild card always is Jerry. It's why like all this conversation about CD, the back and forth, like it was inevitable it was going to end up here. Jerry does not let sweet skill guys who sell jerseys and dominate on the field. And here's the other thing. Like all these wide receivers that have gotten paid or want to get paid have proven to be winning players, right? 2 years ago, Justin Jefferson on a 12-win Minnesota Vikings team. Last year, like when he was on the field and Cousins played well, like they were really good. Brandon Ayuk has only been a part of winning these last 3 years. CeeDee Lamb for 3 straight years, they've been winning 12 games. Like these guys have proven to be winning players. Now the question is, can you keep winning when you allocate that much money to that position? But I've defended going back to like Khalil Mack, and because forever the conversation about holdouts was always kind of anti-player, right? They were, and maybe there were times like this is a dumb holdout, and we've seen them, right? T.O. back in the day, Le'Veon Bell years ago, like just disastrous business decisions. And then I remember Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald did it. I was like, well, these guys have like, and this is 5-6 years ago, $90+ million guaranteed they're staring at. It is not worth getting injured. You can't afford to do that. No one in business, in any walk of life, in any industry, would risk losing $90 million. So when you look at these guys like Jamar Chase, like I'm in these guys' category. So when with the back and forth, am I practicing? Am I not practicing? Like ripping my knee at practice would cost me $100 million. Gets a little more complicated with Brandon Ayuk. He's not on their level, though it kind of feels like he thinks he's on their level. But even for him, like, okay, you're not talking 100, but you're talking 75 or $70 million. Got news for you. No one in any other industry would risk losing that either. So the situations now, because of the money, you know, I had Jake Rosenberg on the podcast who negotiated deals for a long time with Howie and the Eagles. He was their contract negotiator. And he's like, player empowerment is much more prevalent now in the NFL. It's been that way in the NBA for a long time. And simply because of money, right? Like ultimately the NBA, like you're talking 200, 250, $300 million deals, $150 million deals. Well, forever the NFL, because beside the quarterbacks, a lot of it, the money wasn't that enormous relative to the other two sports, baseball and basketball. Well, now it's kind of getting there, right? Because of the TV deal, because of the popularity of the league. And I think you're seeing these players knowing how much they're going to make, like no chance I'm risking it. And it's complicated for the team. Like this isn't 1993 where you're just like, you just got to play, suck it up. We're going to find you every day because I really like you as a player and I need you as a player and I win with you as a player. But it's going to be a fascinating case study with these wide receivers if you can have success paying these guys $35 million. I don't care what the salary cap is.